Thank you for joining us for a special episode of How'd You Like That Movie? This is where we look at Oscar films in which Kris decides he has a better opinion than the Academy itself. We are discussing 2006's Brokeback Mountain and Crash. I gotta go. I'm fucking a white woman here.
And of course, I'm going to use because this is how I feel about you, Scott, and this podcast. I wish I knew how to quit you. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of How'd You Like That Movie? As you're probably hearing, we still don't have our producer who's working in the United States, so we are fumbling our way through yet another episode. Thank God we do have an editor that will try and make some sense of the gibberish that we're talking. As Scott said, we're going to be talking about films I feel were robbed, and not just me. There are other people, film critics, that think that films got robbed. We're going to be talking about 2005 Brokeback Mountain and Crash. But before we do that, I've got a special note to the Oscars, who decided for the 2022 season that they were going to remove film editing, makeup, hairstyling, production design, music, original score, sound, and all the fucking short categories from the live presentation. Fuck you, Academy. Fuck you. You ever seen a fucking film without that stuff? It's not a fucking film. Your best picture isn't a best picture without that shit. So fuck you. Anyway, Scott, take us away.
Easy, big fella.
Fucking over dramatic for somebody, especially for somebody who's like, as people would, listen to this podcast would know, half of your argument is, well, I would cut this shit out, right? To save time. So when you have an Academy that's like, maybe we don't want another fucking 4-hour show that's been going on, or 3.5-hour show. We're just going to cut out these little things. I don't
these little things that literally make your movie.
Hey, I don't hear you complaining when that what's that section that they have that like an actor will come out and be like, here's all the technology awards that were issued, and it's like a 30-second clip, right? And it's all these people getting awards, but
film editing, before we
I think it's apropos, right? They're cutting out the film editing. Right? I think it's apropos.
Man, that word of the day calendar is fucking working on point. I'm gonna bitch about that every episode before the Oscars, so we don't need to dwell on it right now, because I'm gonna dwell on it later on. So Scott, I actually want you to go first on this, because clearly I have, I don't want to say I have a horse in this race, but I definitely have some strong opinions. So as you
okay. So I've watched Crash before, and I watched it when it got released.
Okay.
This was the first time I've ever watched Brokeback Mountain.
Are you fucking serious?
I've never watched this film before.
Jesus, man.
Well, I think that I would say now watching it. I'm going to say you're wrong.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to say you're wrong. I think even now, 16 years later, Crash is still as relevant in its message as it was.
Whoa, hold on. I'm going to fucking just stop you right in your fucking tracks. The award for Best Picture is not for relevant message. It's an award around filmmaking. So let's fucking keep on point here, buddy.
You lose. Good day, sir.
Okay, but part of the film is its message, right? So the message that it had back then still resonates and is still a reflection of society today, 16 years later.
But the award is not for having a relevant message. The award is for the delivery of that message. So
yes.
Keep going.
And I think it did well then. It still does well. Like, it's still watchable now.
Sure.
So
there's lots of films that are watchable that don't deserve fucking Oscars for Best Picture.
One, I'm going to say this. I'm going to go with the CanCan. I'm going to go with your CanCan.
CanCon.
Yeah.
The CanCan's a French dance.
Not okay. I'm going to start calling it the CanCan.
Content.
I'm calling it the CanCan. It's Canadians can do it. It's CanCan. But, writer, director Paul Haggis, who born an hour away from where we live
That's true.
in London, Ontario. So I'm gonna give it to him because he's Canadian. And
that's why. That's it. That's your fucking argument. The guy's from fucking London, Ontario. Fucking here you go.
He did the screenplay for Casino Royale too, so that fucking kicked ass too.
Fuck yeah!
Like I watched both. Crash.
Did you rewatch both to get ready for the show?
Well, okay. I watched Brokeback for the first time and rewatched Crash.
Okay.
Crash from beginning to end kept your interest, right? But I found myself not nodding off, but like just hitting the button to see how much longer Brokeback was gonna go on for. Right.
The awards also not for like how entertained you are, but go ahead.
Well,
I do think that being entertained is part of filmmaking. I will give you that. I'm mostly making fun of you at this point.
Yeah, but like we did Power of the Dog too, right? And that one fucking dragged too. So I don't know.
It's awful though. So that's that.
Yeah,
Brokeback is a way better film than fucking Power. Would you agree? Brokeback Mountain is a better film than Power of the Dog. Wow. There shouldn't even be a fucking there.
Well, no, because it's too because it is similar, but like theme wise, maybe similar, but it's still too like Power is more of like a thriller kind of thing, I would say, because it's more about like the evolution. Like I said in our episode, I thought it was more of the evolution of the serial killer than it was the Benedict
Cumberbatch.
Yeah, like that was in the background, but you never actually got to meet his Jake Gyllenhaal to Benedict Cumberbatch's Heath Ledger, right? So you never actually got to see that relationship. The most you saw was him masturbating with a piece of cloth for 5 minutes long. That could have been edited out.
Yeah, let's keep editing in the Oscars, but let's edit down the masturbatory aspect of Power of the Dog.
No, true enough. But I think, like I was more entertained, and I honestly thought the cinematography was better in Crash than it was in Brokeback. But I do see why Ann Lee won for direction as well, right? And I don't know, I think to me, and you can say it wrong, like the Jake Gyllenhaal character was never redeemed.
That doesn't matter. Like that's not at all.
Yeah, but it threw me off. I didn't like.
Can you give us a quick synopsis of what Crash is about? Because you seem to enjoy it, right?
Yeah, so it's one of those Cronenberg films. So it's about like people that get off on car crashes, and James Spader did a really good job.
Oops, wrong Crash.
I know. I almost thought it was that one, right?
That would have been awesome. Oh my god! I wish you had actually just like got all your notes.
I was close. Man. I put it on my queue to watch, but then
when I started talking about like Sandra Bullock and stuff, you're like, "What are you talking about? Sandra Bullock is not in this."
I'm like, it was James Spader and Deborah Hager, but no, I
was. It was
close.
very erotic, and you're like, "It was erotic, like the black and white violence." Like, what are you talking about? You're like, "There's no black people in Crash."
Yeah, no, I'll be honest. I was close. I thought it was the Cronenberg one for a second. And I realized,
I think the Cronenberg one's from the 90s though, isn't it?
I think it's like early 2000s. I think it's like
okay,
2001.
So it's even close.
Like close.
Like,
they were close, right? From what I remember.
Anyway, give us a synopsis.
And then I totally forgot that it was Paul Haggis that did it. I thought this was fucking Traffic from Soderbergh.
Oh, yes.
And then I'm like, I thought Soderbergh directed this.
You're like, all these like car words, traffic, drive.
I'm like,
crash,
it's just confusing me, man. Like, fuck, sitting at home, isolated, like this shit does not help, right?
Anyway, come on, give us the synopsis.
So Crash is technically the quick rundown. It's like 2 days in the life of LA. in which you have intersecting lives that are literally crashed together, where you have the two car thieves who end up stealing the car of the district attorney, and then
Who's white?
yes, and then he's trying to be very politically correct, so he's trying to find a minority hero that he can pin something like a award to show that, because he doesn't want to lose the African American votes in his next election. And then you have a detective who's investigating a white cop who has shot 3 black people, and then you find out the third black person was an undercover cop, and then it's them going through that investigation. And then you have Michael Pena, who plays like a locksmith, in his life, right? Like just moving from a bad side of town to the not so bad side of town because there was gunshots that went through his window and almost hit his daughter. And it's just how these lives are just intersecting in in violent ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And like racial tension, specifically in the city of Los Angeles in the time period or whatever. I would agree. Yeah, like it's all about just like intersection and the tension that exists between, and socioeconomic as well, both like class and money, and how race and class have that sectionality, right? So
the intersexuals
in some, I mean,
I think you need a word.
Was intersectional. Intersectionality.
I think you need a word of the day.
I need a fucking speech therapist is what I need.
Okay, don't hurt yourself.
Okay, before I go on my and we take my position, is there anything else you want to say? Well, because you're gonna push back on what I say. You'll be wrong, but
yeah, I think that this would be a good debate, because I do think the Academy chose the right one. Like for film itself, I think when you take, and it's my definition of what a best film is.
My definition is this.
Okay.
The boom-blasting facts down.
Yeah, like mine is when you take the script, the actor, the direction, cinematography, and editing, and it builds this perfect, like put it on the petri dish and it builds this perfect film, right? So everything was strong, but you can have a film that like Ann Lee could be a better was the better director, but in all, the film itself of Crash, I think, overtook what Brokeback was.
All right.
Now go.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah. I figure I'm not going to talk for a while, so hold on.
You're just gonna go have a smoke,
if I smoked, but I don't.
Go have a vape or whatever it is you do. So actually, I love Brokeback Mountain, so I already knew that I had a bias to this film, and I hadn't seen Crash in a long time. And I remember when I first saw Crash, I wasn't super impressed. So I specifically watched Crash first. And I'll be honest, up until about halfway through the film, I was like, oh, maybe the Academy got it right. And I agree with you. Like the message is actually, I would say, as relevant or more with what's going on, what happens with like George Floyd and like just the racial tension in the United States, here in Canada, like that message is still very relevant. And I thought they actually did a decent job, kind of touching on those aspects, like the white cop, shaking down the director and his wife, the locksmith dealing with the language barrier with the Persian shopkeeper and stuff like that. And up until about the halfway mark, I was like, oh, I think this is going to really give Brokeback a run for its money in this conversation. And then somewhere around that halfway mark, the fucking film fell apart. And I feel like it jumps the shark when Dylan's character shows up and
redeems himself.
whatever you want to call it. Matt Dillon shows up and the car's upside down. And first off, I thought that thing was like shot really kind of cheesily. And it just felt like this white savior, like you said, redemption bullshit. The film got like super cheesy in my opinion after that. And I also found that, and I get like a big part of the story narrative is supposed to be how interconnected we all are. Like two things. I would say that we're super interconnected and the duality of man, right? Like the idea that like we are all just products of our environment and like good people can do bad things and bad people can do good things. And we all kind of justify that. But I did feel that like, I felt it was properly interconnected in the first half. And then Vegas really tried to like really connect like every single one of those characters to a point that it basically stopped meeting the burden of like relevant like disbelief, like suspension of disbelief, right? Like I just think that they could have still kept some of those characters apart from each other and the film would have been better. So it was nominated for 5 Oscars. Obviously, it won Best Picture. It was Best Film Editing and Best Original Screenplay. It was nominated for 9 BAFTAs, and it won Best Supporting Actress and Best Original Screenplay. So for sure, the editing is awesome. A lot of cross-cutting, aspects of like non-linear editing as well, or format. So I totally think that it's a beautifully edited film. The cinematography is okay. Like Michael Morrow, like kind of the best film when I looked at his filmography as far as cinematography he did was like Traitor, which also had Don Cheadle in it. The film, like Crash, had a fantastic cast, has Sandra Bullock, Don Cheadle, Matt Dillon, Brendan Fraser, Terrence Howard, Ludacris, Thwaitai Newton, I know I screwed up her name, Michael Pena, and Ryan Philippe. Like I said, well edited, it's got a $6.5 million budget, made 99 million. So it did well in that way. It's an okay movie. It's okay. I don't actually think that it really even belonged on the Best Picture list.
Really?
So yeah. Well, so we have Brokeback Mountain, Capote, Good Night and Good Luck, and Munich. And all of those films, the only one I haven't seen is Good Night, Good Luck. I haven't been able to actually find it anywhere. Are fantastic. Like when I think big picture, I think of like all the ingredients came together, and like you said, like it makes one totally big film. And there needs to almost be a certain amount of scope. And I don't just mean like cinematic scope, but like a big story as well as the big cinematic experience. And I found Crash doesn't have a really big cinematic experience to it. But let's say we leave it on the list. Any one of those films is better than Crash. Again, obviously I didn't see Good Night and Good Luck. Now, so do you have anything to say about what I've said so far?
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, I did enjoy what they did with the editing here, where, they would have like the scene, like, as an example, like Brendan Fraser's character's just like out of the meeting. He starts walking to the door. You see him reach for the door, and then it's another door opening, and we go into the next scene, the next person's life, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's very cool. Like it's very arty in that way, right?
And I think from what you're saying, like I found this a lot more indie than, like, it was a smaller kind of condensed picture compared to all the other ones you're saying.
100%. I mean, what did I say? It had a $6.5 million budget. Like I think Vegas had to mortgage his home, and like he basically Paul Haggis, borrowed and probably didn't steal money to make this fucking movie, and nobody wanted to produce it. So like I give it kudos. And if we were talking about the Indie Spirit Awards, sure, no problem. Brokeback Mountain had. Go ahead.
Like, okay. So,
by the way, Brokeback Mountain only had a $14 million budget, so it's over double, but it's not huge.
And most likely that's the actors' salaries at the time, right? Too.
Sure.
Just probably Anne Hathaway's salary at the time. But okay, so when we did our best of 2021, you picked Zola.
Yep.
right?
Yep.
It's your best film. And to me, like when you name these films that were nominated, Crash is the Zola of that film, which is small, condensed, and has a good story, had some strong acting, and its editing and camera style is what kind of won it over.
But I'm not saying that. But if you asked me what the best film of 2021 at the time was, I said Zola. That doesn't mean I think Zola has any business being in the Best Picture category or definitely winning Best Picture.
Wait,
of the Oscars.
Didn't she get mad that it wasn't nominated?
I think it got, the problem is that Zola, I don't think got nominated for any Oscars, which I think is not right. But Best Picture, no, it should, like, it's not big enough to be a Best Picture. Like the scope is not there for Best Picture. Best Picture is a very specific award, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Again, it'll do well at the Indie Spirit Awards.
So okay, so just so I know, because then like this art, whatever we argue might not be, because so like, does it have to have a certain amount of budget, or
it's about like, no, man?
Because you're saying how big? Like, what's the big? Like, what's the
big is like when you watch it, it has size and grandeur to it. You know what I mean? You don't have to have a big budget to do that. Obviously, it makes it easier with a big budget, but you can also have a big budget that doesn't have a lot of scope to it. The story you're trying to tell needs to be like a big story. Like, I don't know, storming the beaches of Normandy. That's a big fucking story. Moonlight, this whole interaction between these characters and their coming of age story, like it's a big emotional story. You know what I mean? Even Parasite, right? Like Parasite, you're talking about like class structure in South Korea and like how that, it is influencing those characters and then, drives them to do the things that they did. Mm-hmm. So, again, I think that like
the social and economics of Los Angeles is not a big enough story, or America in general.
It's big, but again, it just didn't feel like a very flushed out. It felt like that script needed more work. First off, they probably should have brought on some, I don't know, fucking people of color and women to help write those characters, because it has a very male gaze to it and a very white male gaze to it. But again, if you want to put it on the best picture list, it's not the best picture that, like, it should not be winning. Like, those other films are better best pictures. So now I want to actually talk about Brokeback Mountain. So I watch Crash. I kind of make my opinion up. I put on Brokeback Mountain, and I bet you within 7 minutes or whatever, just the cinematography alone, I was like, fuck yeah, this fucking movie. Those images of Nebraska, by the way, it's shot in Alberta, Canada, which is awesome. But those shots where like the clouds are like almost like Simpsons clouds. Like it almost looks like the clouds are like green screened, composed. And these almost like steady, shots on sticks or whatever. And just this, it's almost like this portrait of the American West or the American Midwest or whatever. It's fucking tangibly beautiful to look at. And then you get into the dynamic between Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger, and like he's playing like the strong silent type, and Jake Gyllenhaal is a much more like open, as open as you can be in like 1963 is when it opens about his sexuality and the conflict back and forth, and then the conflict that they have with society. Like the dialogue is fucking on point, and the emotional gravitas of that movie. I still cry every time I watch that movie. That end
what
scene,
part?
when he's in and he's smelling, well, that part is super sad. But even when he first gets the shirt, like he gets Jake Gyllenhaal's character's shirt from the parents after he's been killed, and he's just standing there and he smells it and holds it. It's just such a tender moment. Like that. There's so many just good beats, like showing how angry he gets and how he can't commit to this like love. It's this beautiful love story that happens to also be about two men. And it's beautifully shot. I mean, the editing is not as complex the way that Crash is. Like I said, Crash is it's not better, it's just different. It's different editing, and it deserves the award because it's very complicated editing. Like you're saying, stepping through a door, flashing back to this, like there's a lot of movement, and it creates it's a very dynamic picture. Brokeback Mountain is it's a subtler. It's almost like a watercolor or a painting, and it's just a beautiful to watch. It's delightful, like as a film.
Yeah, it's like a Bob Ross kind of thing going.
Maybe there's a happy tree, evergreen tree. He lives right there.
It is actually, it's like, as funny as that statement is, it is. There's a certain softness to it. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing. Like I think, and this is not a knock, but we'll say it as.
Oh, by the way, if anybody knows, Brokeback Mountain is about two cowboys who happen to be gay. In case you've somehow been under. Well, they are two cowboys, and they happen to be gay, and there's a love story.
I think they're bi.
Well, I mean, they're choosing to have. They would have. Hey, Jake Gyllenhaal and him would have much rather just been with each other. So, they can.
Well, Jake Gyllenhaal's character would much rather be with him, not Heath.
Heath from the beginning. He just can't. He can't. Says he's just, I can't do that. I can't. I want to, but I can't. Jake Gyllenhaal, is more open.
I don't think he ever said he wanted to.
Okay, man, you need to go back and actually watch the film and see the subtext.
When did he say he wanted to?
He doesn't say it in so many words, but he definitely says he can't. Like, I can't do that. Like, we can't live that life. Like, we have what we have, and
because he was traumatized from what his dad showed him.
Yeah, man, wouldn't that be fucking traumatic? Like, this is what happens to people that engage in that kind of lifestyle. The DOP is Rodrigo Printo, and so he's done some amazing stuff with Scorsese. He's done Silence, The Irishman. He also did and The Wolf of Wall Street, but he also did 8 Mile, Frida, and Babel, and Argo from your buddy George Clooney and Ben Affleck.
Also an Oscar winner.
Yes, also an Oscar winner.
But so like in terms of, like I was saying before, like the Bob Ross scenario, like that's what I found with Jake's character. It was, we need another kind of straight gay man for him to kind of fall in love with him. We're gonna just put him here. They're like, well, there's Hopper from Stranger Things. Now there's the Mexican prostitute, right? In which even that scene where Heath Ledger's character goes and visits his parents, the dad's like, yeah, he's told us a lot of stories about this ranch and how many other guys were going to be coming, right?
Well, he said one other guy. He said,
which was the David Harbour character.
Yes, yeah, because originally he talked about Ennis, right? And he was going to come up here and blah blah blah, and then he didn't talk about him anymore, and he talked about another guy.
So
anyway,
and that's the thing, like in terms of this love story, was it really a love story if technically Jake Gyllenhaal's character was
there's a whole monologue basically where Heath Ledger, they're beside the river, and Heath Ledger's like tells him, like, I don't want to know the things that I don't know. If I come to know them, I'll fucking kill you. Basically, the jealousy, or he doesn't want to know about what he's doing down in Mexico. And Jake Gyllenhaal like fucking lays it on the line. He's like, man, we could have had something. We could have had something beautiful. We could have done something. But like, he's basically, this is his more words than he needs. He basically is like, I'm fucking gay, man. Like, I need to have sex. Like I can't do, he says, I can't just survive on a couple of high altitude fucks. Once a year or whatever, right? He's like, I love you. I want to be with you. We can't be together. You won't let us be together. So yeah, I'm gonna go get some fucking ass down the street, man. Like, these guys. Man,
I don't think he said it that way.
But that, I'm paraphrasing. But basically, like, he's like, I'm fucking gay, man. Like, this is who I am, and I want to be with you, but you won't let us be together. So I'm gonna do what I need to do to fucking get through my fucking day to day. It's 100% like those two men loved each other, man. Fucking loved each other. Cry. It's so sad. And the acting performances from everybody involved is just amazing.
Yes.
Like you obviously Heath Ledger, Jake Gyllenhaal, but Michelle Williams, Anne Hathaway, and Randy Quaid, like it's fucking
well, I wouldn't say Randy Quaid per se, because
his role was fine. He did a great job.
Yeah, but I'm saying like, but because he's only like first 15 minutes, right?
Well, I mean, he comes in a couple times at the beginning of the film, right? Because he first does the job interview, and then he shows up on site and he catches them in a way. And then basically when Jake Gyllenhaal's character is looking for Heath Ledger's character, he's like, basically like, I didn't hire you to like fuck each other or stem the rose, whatever that means.
He was like, yeah, you weren't getting paid to have the dogs watch the sheep at night, right?
I mean, it's super impressive that Ang Lee, like the big film that he had done right before this is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which is like obviously a beautifully directed film and beautifully shot film. But this is like a hardcore drama. Like, those are very different films. Like, one's like this crazy Chinese style action film with like flying and fucking sword fighting and stuff. And then he comes to this just like peaceful drama. And it's really beautiful to watch.
He does the Hulk after, right? Or was that before?
Actually, yeah, he did that's right. He did the Hulk also before Brokeback.
With Eric Bana, yeah.
He said that after doing those two films before Brokeback, he was kind of exhausted, and Brokeback Mountain actually kind of re-energized him as a director. And I mean, again, doing those action films, man, that's a lot of it's a different kind of work. It's different kind of stress, right? I mean, you got to deal with the Hulk all day. Like, I can't really imagine that guy's easy to work with. Like,
deal with the fucking Hulk all day.
So,
trust me, I know what it's like. I know what it's like having to deal with a Hulk. Somebody who just, takes up space and just takes out the vacuum. Unless you have anything else to say specifically, go ahead. Yeah, I was going to say, like, I think, like I said, I think the Academy got it right. Like, I think out of the two, Crash was more deserving of the Best Picture.
Good soup.
And don't get me wrong, even though this was the first time I saw Brokeback, and at times I was bored, but it still was a beautiful film to watch. But I don't think it's one that many people are going to rewatch either, right?
I disagree. Anyway, I want to leave. My last words are going to be these from Eric Cohen from IndieWire. Brokeback Mountain deserves better, but the Academy didn't know it. Paul Haggis's painfully obvious ensemble drama about racial prejudice in Los Angeles was a smug, one-note drama designed to make white liberals feel good about themselves.
And that is our wrap for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. If you want to get a hold of us, reach us at the www.howdyoulikethatmovie.com. The only thing I would say is like, in terms of just Heath Ledger itself, like, dying young, like, seeing this, then seeing Dark Knight, like, it's crazy to think, like, he could have been.
Oh, he would have been one of the greats. Like, he was already becoming one of the greats, right?
Yeah, I think he would have been kind of the next Daniel Day-Lewis, where it's just like encompasses the role, and just like every role he gets nominated for, it doesn't matter what the fuck it is, right?
Production by Rod Shaver, Vader Monkey Productions.